This video has been years in the making, huh? If you don't know the rules of a Professor Oak challenge, I'll just run through them real quick. Rule 1 is that you must get every Pokédex entry before each gym. The overworld in this game functions very similarly to a traditional Pokemon game, so we're back to using the normal gym by gym format. Rule 2 is that we can only use one version, either gold or silver. This prevents us from getting certain version exclusive Pokemon, and for my run I chose silver version. Rule 3 is that no glitches can be used. Just like last time, I don't know of any glitches that are present in the game, but the rule still stands. Finally, I will only be using the attached Pokemon Center website for the item shop, breeding, and the Hall of Fame, and not for trading. I will also not be including the 1v1, gym challenges, and mystery gift options. Alright, let's go. Starting off the game, Professor Oak meets us to ask what my name is. After selecting the version, we find ourselves walking through an empty void. We're suddenly confronted by 3 shadow starters. Wow, I'm so glad that Hop taught me all about this type advantage stuff. This is really useful. Upon waking up, I head over to Elm's lab to get my first Pokemon. Totodile is the obvious choice here because it evolves to its final form at the lowest level, becoming Feraligatr at a mere level 30. An important note here is that this Totodile needs to be female. The reason for this is the Hall of Fame. I mentioned it briefly at the beginning, but the Hall of Fame is a part of Pokemon Tower Defense 2 where you can submit your Pokemon to it. If you reach certain milestones, you can redeem legendary and mythical Pokemon. The catch, however, is that you can only submit each Pokemon once. This means that in order to submit Totodile, Croconaw, and Feraligatr, I need to have 3 Totodiles. The only way to do this before the post game is through breeding a Totodile, which is why I need a female one, since Ditto can't be acquired this early. After leaving Elm's lab, I find the other 2 starters being harassed by a bunch of shadow Pokemon. Upon saving Chikorita and Cyndaquil, our rival Silver calls us over to the southeast of town. We're presented with a fairly easy fight despite being outnumbered 2-1. Heading back to Elm, we finally receive our Pokedex, as well as an infinite Pokeball. This means that we can now add Totodile to the total. We now have access to Route 29, which means that we can get some more Pokemon for the total. Here I catch Pidgey, Sentret, and Rattata. We then head over to Cherry Grove City, where Zapdos and its squad are making a ruckus. In the battle against Zapdos, we can catch Hoothoot, Hoppip, Weedle, and Caterpie. It's important here to catch Weedle if you're playing Gold, or Caterpie if you're playing Silver, because otherwise the bug exclusive to the other version will not be available in this section. After defeating Zapdos, Ash shows up with Lugia to calm the birds down. Then Giovanni appears out of nowhere, which where are you all coming from? Anyway, turns out that Giovanni has Shadow Mew3, which means yes, the villain is exactly the same in this game. Except this time he's more evil. There's nothing new to catch above in Route 30, but we can backtrack to Route 46 to catch Geodude, Spearow, and Jigglypuff. Advancing to Route 31, we can get Bellsprout, and in Dark Cave, we can get Zubat, the rare Dunsparce, and Shuckle. If we wait for the clock to turn over to nighttime, Ghastly will appear on Route 31, and in the morning, Ledybah will appear on Route 30 if playing Silver. Spinarak is available at nighttime only in Gold version, but we can still get Spinarak and Ariados in a later section. There are still a few more catches to get here, but they're pretty rare, so I decided to start evolving my Pokemon. I evolved Caterpie to Metapod at level 7, Weedle to Kakuna at level 7, Metapod to Butterfree at level 10, Kakuna to Beedrill at level 10, Sentret to Furret at level 15, Ledybah to Ledian at level 18, Rattata to Raticate at level 20, and Spear to Fearow at level 20. That's not all of the evolutions, but I paused here because while I was level grinding Bellsprout, I found a one-on-one encounter with Raikou. The legendary beasts usually run away, but if it's a one-on-one encounter, the beasts become entirely incapable of running away or even fighting back, which means that my level 14 Bellsprout can chip away the level 50 Raikou until it gets in catching range. This did not occur with Entei and Suicune, but we'll get to that. Returning to the evolutions, I evolved Hoothoot to Noctowl at level 20, Bellsprout to Weepinbell at level 21, Zubat to Golbat at level 22, Geodude to Graveler at level 25, Ghastly to Haunter at level 25, Totodile to Croconaw at level 18, Hoppip to Skiploom at level 18, Skiploom to Jumpluff at level 27, Croconaw to Feraligatr at level 30, Pidgey to Pidgeotto at level 18, and Pidgeotto to Pidgeot at level 36. After devising a strategy that involves reducing speed, paralyzing, leeching health, and reversing with Whirlwind, I was able to get Entei and Suicune. I think the way the developer intended you to get them. For the final few Pokemon, I had to use the Breeding Center. Within this is a trick I have dubbed the Breeding Center trick, or BCT for short. Essentially, this allows for trade evolution Pokemon to evolve without the need for trading. For example, if I breed Graveler and then return that Graveler to my game, the game assumes that the Graveler was received through a trade and evolves it into Golem. So if I ever mention using the Breeding Center trick to evolve a Pokemon, this is what I'm referring to. With that in mind, I bred the Jigglypuff I found to get Igglybuff, used the Breeding Center trick to get Golem and Gengar, and then I bought some items from the item shop, which by the way are bought with daily coins that can be gotten through breeding, and was able to evolve Golbat to Crobat with the Friendship Doll, Weepinbell to Victory Bell with a Leaf Stone, and Jigglypuff to Wigglytuff with a Moonstone. That brings our dex total to 45 Pokemon, and the max for this section. We can then defeat Falkner at the end of Route 31 quite easily with our high-leveled team and 3 legendary Pokemon, and can move on to Section 2. Upon entering Violet City, I head up to Bellsprout Tower to take care of the Shadow Bellsprout infestation. We then find the main group gathered in the center of the city, where Giovanni throws all of us into another void. This time we have to bully Lugia until we can be set free. Now that evil has been vanquished again, we've got some new catches. On Route 32 North, I can catch the Silver exclusive Ekans and Mareep. I then head over to Ruins of Alph to get Unknown, beat up Shadow Entei, and then talk to Ash and Gary for a bit to progress the plot. I went back to Route 32 and caught another Bellsprout, then headed up to Violet City to trade it for an Onyx. In Central Route 32, we can find a fisherman who will battle us with 3 separate Pokemon, with that Pokemon changing each day. We need to beat the battle with this fisherman's Quillfish, Magikarp, and Tentacool in order to receive the Good Rod from him, while only needing to beat one of the battles to get the Old Rod. With my first encounter, he used Quillfish, so we add that to the total, but I'll come back for the other 2 later. Also, I couldn't beat the battle the first time either, so we'll come back for the Old Rod. After trying to continue to head south, Shadow Mew3 absorbs Giovanni. Yeah, I don't think badges will help you here, pal, and then multiplies himself. I then have to defeat a Shadow Mew3 clone, which admittedly is pretty easy. Then Celebi shows up, which will bring us to the crux of the game. While in the present we can't get any further than the clone Shadow Mew3 fight, Celebi takes us to the past where this essentially progresses like a normal Pokemon game. Since we already beat Falkner and got the Zephyr badge, our next point of progress is Azalea Town in the past. Since the time can be changed freely in the past, I changed the time to night and then headed down to Route 32 again to catch Wooper. There's nothing new in Union Cave or Route 33, though Sandshrew can be found in Union Cave in Gold, which means that Sandslash is also unavailable in this section. I then dropped down to Slowpoke Well to get a Slowpoke, and returned back to the fisherman to defeat the Quillfish and was able to get the Old Rod. With this, I headed to Cherry Grove City to get Magikarp and Krabby, Route 30 to get Poliwag, Dark Cave to get Goldeen, and Route 32 to get Tentacool. The rest of the catches in this section are gotten through the Good Rod and Headbutt, so I had to wait a couple days to get the rest of the catches. I checked back with the fisherman on a later day to see that he was using Magikarp, and on another day he used Tentacool, which finally allowed me to get the Good Rod. This allowed me to catch Corsola and Staryu in Cherry Grove City. I know, fairly underwhelming given that you need at least 3 days to even get the Good Rod. Nonetheless, that's all of the currently available catches, so it's time for the first grinding session. I decided to grind in Slowpoke Well since the wild Zubat and Slowpoke give pretty decent experience for each of your Pokemon, but the water types did fantastic against the high-level Geodude, Graveler, and Onix in Union Cave, so it's also a great spot to grind. With this, I was able to evolve Ekans to Arbok at level 22, Poliwag to Poliwhirl at level 25, Tentacool to Tentacruel at level 30, Slowpoke to Slowbro at level 37, Krabby to Kingler at level 28, Goldeen to Seaking at level 33, Magikarp to Gyarados at level 20, Mareep to Flaffy at level 15, then to Ampharos at level 30, and Wooper to Quagsire at level 20. I also decided to take care of the necessary stone evolutions, so using 2 water stones, I evolved Poliwhirl to Poliwrath and Staryu to Starmie. Now of course, if you've seen a Generation 2 Professor Oak challenge, you know we're not quite done yet. Since Slowpoke learns Headbutt through level up, we can use it to get more Pokemon. So after a bunch of tree smacking, I found Execute, Exeggutor, Pineco, Spinarak, Ariados, Aipom, and Heracross. Just like with Spinarak and Ariados, headbutting is also the only way to get Ledybot and Ledian in Gold version. Plus you can find a wild Exeggutor, which is definitely recommended over getting a Leaf Stone. With this, we only have 2 more Pokemon left to grind up. So after just a little more wild battling, I evolve Aipom to Ambipom after learning Double Hit, and Pineco to Fortress at level 31. However, there are still a couple last things I'd like to mention. Firstly, I forgot a few Pokemon that are possible to get at this point in the game when I played through it. The Metal Coat is located on Route 32 hidden behind some trees, and King's Rocks can be gotten off of wild Slowpoke, which means that Steelix, Politoed, and Slowking can be obtained in Section 2. I'll add them to the total now, and then when I actually do it in game, I'll point it out but not increment the counter. Secondly, because over 75 Pokemon can now be registered in the Hall of Fame, we can also get Celebi and Lugia. Yeah, before the second gym. That brings our dex total to 85 Pokemon, and the max for this section. Just like with Falkner, Bugsy doesn't stand a chance against my overleveled Pokemon, so we can easily obtain the second badge. With Bugsy defeated, we can now move on to Elex Forest. We can get the HM for Cut from a boy near the entrance if we beat up his Farfetch'd, so I went to the north of the forest to do that. On the way there, I caught Paris and Parasect. After we throw down with Farfetch, we can head back to the young lad who gives us the Cut HM. If we come back to Elex Forest at nighttime, we can find Oddish and 2 Gloom for later evolutions. On Route 34, we can find Snubbull, Granbull, Abra, Kadabra, and Ditto. I also missed a couple more nighttime Elex Forest encounters, so I went back there to get Venonat and Psyduck. If we head back to Route 34 at night, we can find Drowsy and Hypno. This is as far as we can go for the time being, but it's important to also grab the shiny stone at the northwesternmost area of Goldenrod City. There were only 2 catches that needed to be evolved, so I just opted to train on Route 34, since the Pokemon there give pretty pretty good experience. After a short grinding session, I evolved Venonat to Venomoth at level 31, and Psyduck to Golduck at level 33. I then used the Breeding Center trick to evolve Kadabra to Alakazam, and gathered a Leaf and Sunstone to evolve Gloom to Vileplume and Gloom to Blossom. Doing this also unlocks a small side quest that I was unaware of when I first played, and also caused me to miss a few Pokemon. Once you've gotten Blossom, you can show it to the elderly woman in past Cherry Grove, who will then give you flowers. If you bring these flowers to your mother in the present, she will give you a Togepi. This means that Togepi, Togetic, and Togekiss are available in Section 3, with a Friendship Doll and Shiny Stone needed for Togetic and Togekiss respectively. Just like with the previously missed Pokemon, I'll add these 3 to the total now and then mention when I get them later. This section also pushes us to 100 Pokemon in the Hall of Fame, which allows us to get Ho-Oh and Darkrai. This brings our dex total to 108 Pokemon and the max for this section. This time we have to go up against Whitney, which is normally pretty difficult in most other contexts, but 1, I have several overleveled legendaries, and 2, her vicious Miltank only uses rollout and in the most predictable pattern you've ever seen. With that, we can get the plain badge to finish off this section. Now that we've proven to Whitney that we're not too incompetent to take on some criminals, she enlists our help to defeat the 4 Rocket executives. Before any of that, I head over to the bike shop to grab myself a bike for increased mobility around the overworld, and then go to fight Team Rocket. This fight is pretty easy, mostly in the fact that all the executives' Pokemon do is run in a square, most of them not even fighting back. After we beat them, good guy Giovanni shows up to tell off his chief executives, only for them to clown on him for being lame. Then Shadow Mewtwo shows up to remind us that this game does have an overarching villain, only to get aliened by Shadow Lugia. We unfortunately can't catch this magnificent beast, but we do get to look at it for a few seconds. With all the Rocket stuff finished, we can finally head north to Route 35, where there's a good few new catches. Here we can get Nidoran Female, Nidorina, Nidoqueen, Nidorino, Nidoking, Yanma, and Growlithe. For whatever reason, it appeared to me that Nidoran Male was not able to appear in the wild, nor was Nidoran Female in Gold version, but we can just breed for Nidoran Male later. In the National Park, we can catch Sunkern, Sunflora, Scyther, Pinsir, and Scizor. We can also pick up a Razor Claw here for later. On Route 36, we can find Vulpix, Stantler, and a static Sudowoodo. I also went back and got the Togepi I was supposed to get earlier. If you go around Ecruteak City at night, you can find Misdreavus. This was all the catches I knew at the time for this section, which meant that the only one that needed to evolve through leveling was Yanma. With that, I evolved Yanma to Yanmega after learning Ancient Power. After gathering a Friendship Doll and using the earlier acquired Shiny Stone, I got the Togetic and Togekiss I missed earlier, and then learned that Voltorb Flip exists in this game in Goldenrod, and also learned that there are 5 Pokemon available, totaling up to 55,000 coins needed. Yeah. So after more time playing Voltorb Flip than I would have liked, I was able to purchase Murkrow, Wobbuffet, Slugma, Houndour, and Larvitar. I also learned that Arcanine and Ninetales can appear in the wild, so I went back and got those too, then finished up the rest of the grinding I needed to. After a more sizable grind, because Larvitar is basically just another Dratini, I evolved Slugma to Magcargo at level 38, Houndour to Houndoom at level 24, Larvitar to Pupitar at level 30, and then to Tyranitar at level 55. I also finally realized that I could have gotten the Metal Coat and King's Rock 2 sections ago, so I got the Steelix, Slowking, and Politoed that I missed earlier. I also went to the Ruins of Alph to grab a Rock Incense for breeding. I also used 2 Dusk Stones to evolve Murkrow to Haunchcrow and Misdreavus to Mismagius. Finally, I bred a Nidoking to get Nidoran Male, and bred my Sudowoodo holding a Rock Incense to get Bonsly. I also forgot another Pokemon, that being Wynot. The Lax Incense can be found in Violet City, which means that Wynot can be bred in this section. Again, I'll add it now and then mention it when I actually get it. This also put my Hall of Fame over 125 Pokemon, so I could redeem Regirock. This brings our dex total to 142 Pokemon, and the max for this section. Morty isn't too much of an issue because although he does love to spam Gengars all over the field, we have plenty of counters at this point to his ghastly ghouls. So after another easy battle, Morty gives us the Fog Badge to finish off this section. Defeating Morty opens up the routes to the east and west of Ecruteak, which of course means that more Pokemon are available. Within Mount Mortar, we can find Machop and Machoke. Mankey and Primeape are also gold exclusive catches that can be found on Route 42 east of Mount Mortar, which means that neither can be obtained in silver. Heading over to Route 38, we can find Farfetch'd, the silver exclusive Meowth and Persian, Magnemite, Magneton, Tauros, and Miltank. Well, this is all of the catches for this section. I decided to work my way over to Olivine City first. There we find that Ho-Oh is feuding with Shadow Lugia, only to get completely wiped. Hashtag not my Ho-Oh. literally. With that done, it's time to evolve the catches. Once again, there's only 2 that need to be done. So if I bring Magneton back to the Dark Cave and level it up once, it will evolve into Magnezone. And then I use the Breeding Center trick to evolve Machoke into Machamp. This also brings us over 150 Pokemon in the Hall of Fame, so I can redeem Regice. This brings our dex total to 154 Pokemon, and the max for this section. The gym battle for this section is actually quite interesting because you battle Chuck and Jasmine at the same time. On this battlefield, you have to contend with Chuck's fighting types on the left path and Jasmine's steel types on the right path. So I brought a team with 3 Pokemon for each of them to handle both paths. Admittedly, this did take me a couple tries and a lot longer than the previous gym battles, but after holding out against the 2 gym leaders, I can get my Storm and Mineral badges as well as Ho-Oh's approval and finish off this section. After we defeat Chuck and Jasmine, Pass Silver gives us the HM for Surf, which not only allows us to get to Mahogany Town for the 7th badge, but also opens up a fair few areas that were previously inaccessible. In Olivine City, we can surf to catch Mantine. If we head back to the Ruins of Alph, we can surf to the hidden grass area in the back where we can catch Natu, Xatu, and Smeargle. In the basement floor 2 of Union Cave, we can find Lapras in a small pond at the bottom. If we fish here, we can find Lantern, Chinchou, and Shelder. If we surf over to the back room of Dark Cave in the present, we can find Teddy Ursa and Ursaring. If we surf into the middle section of Mount Mortar, we can somehow get stuck in a cave wall, realize it needs to be nighttime, and then find Meryl and Azumarill. On Route 43, we can find Giraffe Rig and then head up to Lake of Rage to fight Sam, the creator of the game. Once we defeat him, he gives us the Super Rod, which once again gives us some new encounters. But firstly, we can catch Tangela and Lickitung on Route 44. Then, if we break out our new Super Rod here, we can find Remoraid and Octillery. Heading into Ice Path, we can find Swinub, Delibird, Sneasel, and Jinx. If we go over to Dragon's Den, we can find Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite. Finally, if we head down to Route 45, we can find the Silver exclusive Phanpy, Donphan, and Skarmory. Gligar is the Gold exclusive Pokemon here, which means Gliscor is also not available, but only in this section. And the total for Gold will be 1 less because Gold can't get Skarmory. Also, the Razor Fang needed for Gliscor is located in Azalea Gym, since I haven't mentioned that yet and it wasn't necessary for this challenge. I also looped back to the basement 2 floor of Union Cave to grab a Deep Sea Scale off a Wild Lantern for later, and to fish up a Wild Cloyster. That concludes the catches for this section, and there's only a few Pokemon that need to be leveled up. After grinding, I evolved Tangela to Tangrowth while knowing Ancient Power, Swinub to Piloswine at level 33, Lickitung to Licky while knowing Rollout, Piloswine to Mamoswine while knowing Ancient Power, and Sneasel to Weavile at night while holding the Razor Claw. Before getting the rest of the Pokemon I needed, I grabbed the Lax Incense I missed earlier from Violet City. Through breeding, I was able to get the last Pokemon I needed. I bred Jinx to get Smoochum, Azumarill with a Sea Incense you can find in past Cherry Grove City to get Azurill, Wobbuffet with the Lax Incense to get the Wynot I missed earlier, and Mantine with the Wave Incense you can find on Route 32 South to get Mantike. This puts us over 175 Pokemon in the Hall of Fame, so Registeel can be redeemed. This brings our dex total to 191 Pokemon, the max for this section. And the next section. And the section after that. Yep, because we've explored every area up to Route 45, there are no new Pokemon in either of the next 2 sections which lead up to the post-game. This means that we can now fully focus on the rest of the story. Pryce is actually a fairly easy fight, as long as it is, since most of his Pokemon are weak to water, electric, or grass, and all of his Pokemon are weak to fighting. Defeating Pryce's barrage of ice types is actually quite trivial. After defeating him, Pryce rewards us with the Glacier badge to finish off this section. So for section 7, we literally just have to fight Claire. This is by far the shortest and easiest section, especially given that Claire, despite being the 8th gym leader, is somehow easier than Pryce, Chuck, and Jasmine. Ice types can handle all of Claire's dragons, water types can handle the Charmeleons, and a couple electric types can take care of the Seadras. After defeating Claire, she rewards us with the Rising badge, and that finishes off this section. Yep, and that's it. With every gym badge in hand, we can now take on the World Tournament, which essentially serves as the Elite Four of this game. Unfortunately, unlike the original Pokemon Tower Defense, we aren't able to skip this one, so I used a tried and true winning strategy that I often use in the official Pokemon games: abusing battle items. The first battle on our list is Watson, who obviously uses electric-type Pokemon. For this battle, I buffed up my Ho-Oh, Lugia, and Shiny Graveler, had my Graveler use Earthquake, which both the box legendaries are immune to, and then used those two to clean up any Pokemon that Graveler couldn't defeat. However, I did have to sacrifice my Graveler to take out the level 101 Mega Manectric, so that was pretty good. Next up to bat is Rourke, the Rock-type Sinnoh Gym Leader. Want to guess my strategy this time? That's right, exactly the same thing. As it turns out, Rock types are also weak to Earthquake, so spamming Earthquake with 18 stat boost works just as well. The final challenger in the tourney is Univa's Salon, who uses Grass types. Unfortunately, Grass is not weak to Earthquake. So you know what I did instead? I brought Entei and Ninetales along with the 2 box legends, and then spam stat buffing moves and battle items as well. Try photosynthesizing this. With those 3 defeated, we must be done, right? Nope. The next event is a battle between Past Gold and the Shadow Silver fellow. His name is Darkness. Oh, and also Elm tells us we can now get level 110 Pokemon. It's time to get a full team of those. So once we return to the World Tournament, we get to see the epic showdown between Gold and Darkness. Darkness brought a hoot to the tourney and somehow got to the semi-final round. Don't know how that one happened. Oh, well, I guess he has that too. That might explain it. So Gold just wants to win the tournament, but his Ho-Oh wants to eradicate Shadow Lugia, so I'm sure this can only go well. So then Silver tries to protect Darkness on account of believing Darkness is his son, and... Oh no. Okay, so Past Silver is dead. Past Silver, aka Giovanni's son, aka Present Silver's dad, aka maybe Darkness's father? I'm not really sure, I'll be honest. I mean, Silver certainly thought so before he, perished. So Past Silver is dead, rest in peace, and Past Gold just got banned from the tournament for killing a man. Which, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So now we're up against Darkness. Not wanting to end up banned or dead, I brought a fairly stacked team of level 110s to the fight to ensure I could defeat Darkness's army of Shadow Pokemon. I brought a team of Quagsire, Darkrai, Scizor, Ho-Oh, Machamp, and Graveler, each with a special level 110 move for their type or types. This team allowed me to cover a lot of what Darkness threw at me, but you can also defeat a large amount of his Pokemon, including as many Snorlax by guiding Lugia's Shadow Hurricane around, which for whatever reason can hit his own Pokemon. Though I did inevitably end up just spamming battle items on my Ho-Oh, since it turns out that it's a lot easier to beat Darkness using just one Pokemon rather than all 6 at the same time, as the Shadow Hurricane will always be guaranteed to follow that one Pokemon. Upon finally defeating Darkness, Celebi brings us back to before the battle between Gold and Darkness, telling us there's no way to stop Silver from biting the dust. So then our character comes up with a crazy plan, to take on the infinite clones of Shadow Mewtwo. You didn't really think this plan through, did you? Well, apparently he did, because as it turns out, I only have to fight 27 Shadow Mewtwo, and none of them can hit Darkrai. So after we beat 27 out of infinity Shadow Mewtwo, he pops up to tell us that there's no beating him, which I kinda figured out in the first place, dude. Celebi urges us to leave, but our character decides to hold out against Mewtwo. And then suddenly, we're back at home, and our mom is calling us down to get our first Pokemon. Was it all a dream? Do I not have to catch an absurd amount of Pokemon in the postgame? Oh, hey Celebi. Oh, I saved the world? By continuing to fight Mewtwo, I somehow changed the past? I'm not sure I follow. Oh look, it's Sam. You here to thank me for playing the game? Huh, would you look at that, he is. Wait, you're not telling me... Oh no. So with that, we've beaten the main story, and thus have completed this section. So, before we get into the catches for this section, I have to outline why the post-game for this game is so ridiculous. So as I showed before, Sam mentioned that Pokemon from other regions are invading Johto. If you're familiar with the official Pokemon games, this probably sounds pretty similar to the swarm mechanic, and you'd be exactly correct in that assumption. However, they don't work exactly the same. So if you now enter Elm's lab, you can see these 3 lads at the bottom. Brendan, Lucas, and N are the triggers for the swarm mechanics. So now you may be thinking, oh hey, so that means you can find one Pokemon from each of those regions on any given route. And that is unfortunately incorrect. The way the swarms function in this game is that it treats any given area like the equivalent area in that region. For example, Johto Route 29 usually has Rattata, Sentret, and Pidgey. However, if you activate the Hoenn swarm, Route 29 will have Zigzagoon, Poochyena, and Wurmple. And this is true for quite literally every area in Johto for the swarms of Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Unova. On top of this, you can randomly find any of the starters from Kanto to Unova in battles with a Pokemon from that generation. For example, if I encounter a Rattata, there's a chance I could find a Pokemon from the Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle line. With all that said, if you enjoyed the story I just went over, throw that shit in the garbage because we're basically doing a glorified poker app. Here we go! For the Hoenn invasion, on Route 29, I found Zigzagoon, Wurmple, Silcoon, Cascoon, Mightyena, Poochyena, Linoon, Torchic, Mudkip, Trico, switched to Sinnoh. On Route 29, found Bidoof, Bibarel, Turtwig, Starly, Staravia, Piplup, Prinplup, Chimchar. Through Headbutt can get Combee, Vespiquen, Burmy, Wormadam, Cherubi, Cherim. Switched to Unova. On Route 29, found Patrat, Lillipup, Herdier, Snivy, Watchog, Tepig, Audino, Oshawott. Decided to just do every area one region at a time. Switched to Hoenn. On Route 46, found Wingull, Marshtomp. Fishing in Cherry Grove, found Wailmer, Wailord, Sharpedo. Fishing on Route 30, found Crawdaunt, Corfish. Normal encounters on Route 30, found Lotad, Lombre, Grovyle. On Route 31, found Talo, Incada, Ninjask, Whismur, Loudred, Skitty. On Route 32 North, found Roselia, Volbeat, Illumise. In Ruins of Alph, found Sableye, No Mawile. In Union Cave, found Baltoy, Sandshrew, Sandslash, Cacnea, Trapinch. Fishing in Union Cave, found Barboach, Wishcash. Back to normal encounters, found Lunatone, No Solrock. On Route 33, found Numel, Spoink. In Elex Forest, found Seedot, Nuzleaf, Swablu, Altaria, Seviper, No Zangoose. On Route 34, found Spinda. On Route 35, found Swellow, Pelipper. Through fishing, found Carvana. In National Park, found Electrike, Manectric, Kecleon. On Route 36, found Tropius. On Route 37, found Surskit, Masquerain, Absol. Can enter this tower in Ecruteak to trigger the Hoopa event. Fight Hoopa's Darkrai in Ruins of Alph. Fight Hoopa's Registeel in National Park. Fight Hoopa's Deoxys in Goldenrod City. Catch Hoopa. Back to my Hoenn escapade. On Route 38, found Banette, Shuppet, No Duskull, Dusclops, or Dusknoir. In Olivine, can surf for Relicanth. Clamperl holding a deep sea tooth I can use for later. In Mount Mortar, found Nosepass, Makuhita, Hariyama, Aeron, Lairon. On Route 42, found Vigoroth, Slackoth. On Route 43, found Metatite, Metacham. At Lake of Rage, found Lovedisk. Cast Form is exclusive to Gold for some reason, even though Lovedisk isn't exclusive to Silver. On Route 44, found Torkoal. In Ice Path, found Spheal, Celio, Snorunt, Glalie. In Dragon's Den, found Salamence. On Route 45, found Slacking, Beldum, Metang, Aggron. Circled back to Route 32 South, found Minun, Gulpin, Swalot, Plusle. Found Squirtle. Decided to take on the fossils in the Sinnoh invasion. In Ruins of Alph, found Kabuto, no Ammonite or Amistar. Shieldon, no Cranidos or Rampardos. Aerodactyl, Lileep, no Anorith or Armaldo. Switched back to Hoenn. On Route 42, found Breloom, Shroomish. On Route 44, found Chimecho. Through fishing, found Feebas. Switched to Sinnoh. Fishing in Cherry Grove, found Luminion. On Route 30, found Budu, Shinx, Luxio. Found Charmander. On Route 32 Central, found Ponyta, Bronzor, Kricketune. On Route 31, found Kricketot. On Route 32 South, found Shellos, Pachirisu, Weasel, Floatzel. Realized I missed a Hoenn Pokemon. Switched back to Hoenn. On Route 30, found Ralts. Switched to Sinnoh. In Union Cave, found Chingling, Cleffa. Found Cyndaquil. In Elex Forest, found Dustox. Beautifly is technically Gold exclusive here, but we'll just evolve Silcoon. Baneri. On Route 34, found Staraptor, Chansey, Bulbasaur. Mime Jr. is exclusive here, so no Mr. Mime either. Rolled back to Route 31 Pass to grab the Luck Incense for breeding. In National Park, found Carnivine, Toxicroak, Krogunk, Drapion, Scorpy. On Route 37, found Chatot, Lamiao, Perugly, no Stunky or Skuntank. In Ecruteak, found Drifloon, Drifblim, Spiritomb. In Mount Mortar, found Hippopotas, Hippowdon, found Wartortle. In Ice Path, found Abomasnow, Snover. In Dragon's Den, found Gliscor. On Route 45, found Rhydon, Weezing, Camerupt, Rhyhorn. In Slowpoke Well, found Gibble. Back in Mount Mortar, found Riolu. Back in Ecruteak, found Rotom. Switched to Unova. On Route 46, found Purloin, Liepard. Switched to Cherry Grove, found Basculin. On Route 30, found Muna. On Route 31, found Pidove, Blitzel. In Dark Cave, found Roggenrola, Woobat. On Route 32 North, found Sewaddle, Swadloon, Venipede, Whirlipede, Petalil, no Cottony or Whimsicott. In Ruins of Alph found Yamask, Sandile, Krokorok, Larvesta, Arcan, no Tortuga or Caracosta. Outside of Ruins of Alph found Timpole, Palpitoad, Timber, Girder, Throw, no Sock. On Route 32 Central found Tranquil. In Union Cave found Darumaka, Pignite, Maractus, Dwebble, Scrafty, Sigilif. On Route 33 found Trubbish, Minchino, Solosis, Nogatheta, Gotharita or Gothitelle. In Slowpoke Well found Vanillite. In Elex Forest found Deerling, Sawsbuck, Carablast, Ducklet, Swanna, Fungus, Amoongus, Duat. On Route 34 found Zebstrika and Pheasant. On Route 35 found Shelmet, Stunfisk, Seismitoad. In National Park found Rapidash. On Route 36 found Pawniard, Duosian, Reuniclus, Garbodor. On Route 37 found Rufflet, no Vullaby or Mandibuzz, Buffalant. In Ekritique found Behem, Elgium, Litwick, Lampent. On Route 38 found Mienfoo, Mienshao, Golett, Golurk. In Olivine found Alomomola. In Mount Mortar found Joltik, Avantula, Clink, Clang, Boldor, Ferroseed, Ferrothorn. On Route 42 found Fracture, Axew, Drillbur, Excadrill. On Route 43 found Braviary, Stoutland. On Lake of Rage found Frillish, Jellicent. On Route 44 found Heatmore, Haxorus. In Ice Path found Vanillish, Beartick, Cubchoo, Cryogonal. In Dragon's Den found Drudagon. On Route 45 found Durant, Zweilous, Dino. Back on Route 30 found Panpour, Panseer, Pansage. Back on Route 42 found Zoroa, Zoroark. Back on Route 37 found Emolga. And finally, back in Mount Mortar I found Tynamo and Electric. That was one take. That marks almost all the catches for this section, since I believe I forgot a couple, but as you'd expect, we're still far from done. We still have to evolve plenty of these Pokemon, so after a ton of grinding on Route 45, I was able to evolve all my catches to get Charmeleon, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, did some breeding in the middle of it to get Happiny, Coughing, Gligar, Bagon, Finneon, and Scraggy, went back and quickly grabbed the Bayleaf and Chikorita I forgot to get, continued to evolve my catches to get Quilava, Typhlosion, Kabutops, Meganium, Beautifly, Kirlia, Gardevoir, Combuskin, which I apparently already caught and for whatever reason couldn't find in my footage, Blaziken, Swampert, Sceptile, Claydol, Cacturn, Exploud, Shedinja, Grumpig, Walrein, Cradilly, Vibrava, Flygon, Probopass, Shelgon, Metagross, Brodel, Torterra, Monferno, Infernape, Empoleon, Mothim, Bastiodon, Luxray, Gastrodon, Gabite, Garchomp, Servine, Serperior, Emboar, Samurott, Scolipede, Archeops, Crocodile, Gavagrigus, Volcarona, Darmanitan, Crustle, Vanillux, Bisharp, Klinklang, and Hydreigon. However, it was unfortunately at this point that I checked Sam's blog and I learned that the servers for all 3 Pokemon Tower Defense games were to be shut down, making even any Flash alternatives not work for Pokemon Tower Defense. As you'd probably guess, I wasn't quite done with the challenge yet, but I just decided to call it here for the actual gameplay. So instead, I'll just run you through what else I would have gotten if I had more time. The only Pokemon I had left to get was Trade Evolutions, Item Evolutions, and the Hall of Fame Pokemon. So let's run through each of those real quick. For Trade Evolutions, I would be able to get Rhyperior using a Protector, Huntail using a Deep Sea Tooth, Gorbis using a Deep Sea Scale, Gigalith, and Conkeldurr. For Item Evolutions, I would be able to get Clefairy with a Friendship Doll, Clefable with a Moonstone, Blissey with a Friendship Doll, Ludicolo with a Waterstone, Gallade with a Dawnstone, Delcatty with a Moonstone, Roserade with a Shiny Stone, Shiftry with a Leaf Stone, Milotic with a Friendship Doll, Frostlass with a Dawnstone, Lopunny with a Friendship Doll, Lucario with a Friendship Doll during the day, Musharna with a Moonstone, Simipour with a Waterstone, Simisage with a Leaf Stone, Simisear with a Firestone, Swoobat with a Friendship Doll, Leavanny with a Friendship Doll, Lilligant with a Sunstone, Cinccino with a Shiny Stone, Chandelure with a Dusk Stone, and Electros with a Thunderstone. For the Hall of Fame Pokemon, since we'd have over 530 Pokemon in the Hall of Fame, we can redeem every award up to then. This would allow us to redeem Latios and Latias for 200, Kyogre for 225, Groudon for 250, Deoxys for 275, Regigigas for 300, Cresselia for 310, Genesect for 325, Manaphy for 335, Zygarde for 350, Dialga for 375, Palkia for 385, Giratina for 400, Zekrom for 410, Reshiram for 415, Uxie for 420, Mesprit for for 425, Azel for 430, Shaman for 440, Gabalion for 450, Terrakion for 455, Virizion for 460, Keldeo for 465, Tornadus for 470, Thundurus for 475, Landorus for 480, Meloetta for 485, Diancie for 490, Jirachi for 495, Rayquaza for 500, Heatran for 505, Xerneas for 510, Yveltal for 515, Victini for 520, and Kyurem for 530. On top of this, you can also breed Manaphy to get Fione. Finally, there are two Pokemon that I'm not certain if you can get, because I wasn't able to test the method. Excelgor and Escavalier are obtained by trading Carablast and Shelmet with each other. However, I'm unsure if this works with the breeding center trick by breeding them with each other. So if this did technically work, then the total would be 2 more than the current final, but I'll just put it with an asterisk, since it's unclear if the breeding center trick works with those two. This brings our grand dex total to 574 Pokemon, or 576 if you want to count Excelgor and Escavalier, and the max amount of Pokemon that you can get in one playthrough of Pokemon Tower Defense 2 Silver version. With that long recap finally concluded, let's take a look at how I did. So, just like with the original Pokemon Tower Defense, there's no in-game timer keeping track of how much time I spent gallivanting through the region 4 separate times. However, I can gauge how long it would take if you did max efficiency with this challenge. The biggest chunk of time in this challenge comes from everything related to the breeding center, including the trade evolutions, item evolutions, and bred Pokemon. Since you have to wait 1 day to hatch any Pokemon from the breeding center and you can only hatch 1 Pokemon at a time, it takes 1 day for each trade evolution and bred Pokemon. Each of these hatched Pokemon also rewards you with 10 daily coins, and you need 20 daily coins per evolution item, which means that any Pokemon that needs a purchased evolution item will take 2 days to get. Tallying everything up, there are 12 Pokemon that evolve by trade if you don't include Escavalier and Excelgor, but in 2 cases you can breed the trade evolution Pokemon with each other, these being Poliwhirl with Slowpoke and the 2 Clamperls together, which saves 2 days. There are 14 Pokemon that are acquired by breeding, and there are 32 Pokemon that evolve with evolution items purchased with daily coins. Also, as I mentioned earlier, you do need at least 3 days to get the Good Rod in Section 2. This comes out to 91 days, or a little over 3 months minimum that it would take to complete this challenge. Now that's not why this challenge took me so long to finish. I started this challenge around the time the pandemic started, and since that point I've been experiencing a large lack of motivation to finish the video, and I had a bunch of other life stuff happening that distracted me from it. But I did manage to get it all done. And just one last quick thing I want to put here. I'd like to extend a massive thank you to Sam Otero, the creator of Pokemon Tower Defense. These games were a massive part of my childhood, and it's been a blast being able to revisit them in the form of the Professor Oak challenge. So if you're seeing this video, thank you so much for your work on these 3 games. With that said as well, I will probably not be able to do a Professor Oak challenge for Pokemon Tower Defense 3, as the servers have long been shut down for the games. So as much as I'm sure plenty of you would love to see it, and I would love to make it, that's off the table for the time being. Finally, I just want to say thanks to everyone that checked out the first Pokemon Tower Defense Professor Oak challenge video. It was one of my most ambitious projects, and I'm glad to see that so many people enjoyed it. And with that, I believe that's everything I wanted to cover for this video. Thank you everyone for watching, and take care.